Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about intervals and how you can memorize them easily. And if you don't know what an interval is, it is essentially one note and another note. That relationship, that distance apart from those two notes, makes up an intervallic relationship. That's about as scientific as I'm going to get with it. You can learn a lot more about intervals and how to use them in my course, Guitar Super System. Over 30,000 students signed up so far and growing every day. Wow. No, really, thank you so much for that. That's amazing. Now, to get on with the lesson, I would like to start with some basic interval relationships and then move on to some kind of quirky interval relationships and how you can memorize them. And this is going to be using a bit of ear training to memorize them. I think that is the most effective way. You can obviously use fret markers and learning to visualize the fretboard in different ways to memorize where intervals exist, but I think every musician should be able to hear an interval and be able to identify it. The benefit of being able to do that is, well, you can understand how to play one of your favorite guitar solos, first of all. You can understand how to integrate yourself into a band situation. Say you go up for an open mic night and you're like, what is that guy playing? You'll know immediately. And it will also help you to find your own voice on the guitar and figure out what intervals you like to use in various harmonic situations. So, without further ado, let's get to the first interval relationship, which I think is pretty easy to remember: an octave. Yeah, that's an octave. The same note, just an octave up or down. That's about as far into that one as I'm going to go. Alright, the next one we're going to do, I'm going to use E as my root note, and this is a minor third. And this is how I like to remember minor thirds. Were you ever teased as a little kid? Did anyone ever say, na 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 boo boo?
You can't catch me, you can't catch na 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 na.
I got this and you didn't. I always felt like that on Christmas, birthdays, other gift-giving holidays. Anyways, that first interval, those first two notes of that teasing melody, that's a minor third. So here's our root note, here's our minor third, G. So the na 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 boo boo would be. Try it in different areas. There's your minor third. And another cool way to memorize a minor third, it's like the bluesy, like. So that is the minor third interval. Again, we're talking about ear training here. You could also recognize that a minor third is always 1.5 steps apart on any given string. So that's one way to go about it. But for all intents and purposes, for this lesson, we're talking about ear training memorization. Let's move on. Next, we're going to talk about a major third. This one's pretty simple. Have you ever had a doorbell in your house? Somebody there?
Light it!
Hear a doorbell in your head. Bing bong. And you have a major third. Simple as that. Next, moving along, we have a perfect fourth. This one is right here. Now, there are a couple songs that use this interval, none more notable than Here Comes the Bride. Using old classic melodies to understand what intervals are is a great way to memorize them. So, those first notes. fun fact, in a standard tuning 6-string guitar, the notes of the guitar are a perfect fourth apart, except the G and B strings. Can you guess that one? Haha, you got it, major third. Sounds like a doorbell. And then back to perfect fourth. So, you learned something new, maybe. Moving along to another common interval, perfect fifth, otherwise known as a power chord. Can anybody recognize the melody that I'm going to use to associate with the perfect fifth? What is it? I know you know it. Yeah, Star Wars. So that is a perfect fifth. First two notes of the Star Wars main theme. That is a pretty easy one to remember. Next, we're going to move on to a major sixth. And this one's a little bit kind of getting into the zone. So we're going to start talking about some of the other odd intervals. The minor third, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, and octave, obviously. Those are kind of like what I consider the easy intervals to memorize. Now we're going to move into the a little bit zone. So now the major sixth is, I associate it with the NBC theme. So here's a major sixth. And the NBC theme, it used to be this. I don't know if it still is. I don't really watch NBC. That used to be like the little jingle for NBC. So when I hear, I can kind of pick out those two intervals. And this is a great way to practice. The way I'm showing you these is obviously note by note, like that. But really, how you should practice intervals is play them simultaneously and try and pick them out. And you know, it sometimes is easier to do it on a piano. Just don't look at the piano, hit two notes and try and identify that interval. But on a guitar, you can kind of do that. I can still hear that's a major sixth. Let's try another one. I'm gonna like invert my hand so that way it doesn't. It sounds like a perfect fourth. Oh yeah. So that's a way you can practice. Put your hand over Michelangelo Badio style. So to put a bow on the major sixth, just listen to that NBC theme. And it's the first two notes. All right, another weird one, but you should know it if you have ever seen one of the greatest movies of all time. This is a minor second. You ever seen Jaws? Hold on, I need a little bit more reverb for this. So that is the minor second. In other words, a half step. It can actually be useful in little Hendrixy type things. So check out minor seconds in your guitar playing. Definitely an underutilized interval. The next weird interval, I would say, is a tritone, or also known as a sharp 4 or a flat 5, depending on what key you're in or what harmony is happening behind you. I have two different ways to present this. The first kind of like metal harmony. That would be, you know, one identifying sound, but I think the more recognizable sound, at least in my opinion, is when you're in like a Lydian context. So you can kind of hear that sharp 4. So by itself, it sounds really dissonant, but in the context of some harmony, can be really beautiful. So a sharp 4, how would I remember that? Again, we're getting kind of out there in the weeds. There's not really classic melodies that you can associate these intervals with, so I'm kind of leaning on music theory, which again is all outlined in Guitar Super System, link down below. You can check out Lydian for your sharp 4 memorization, and of course I love E Lydian just because of this chord relationship. You can have all these open strings ringing. Very delightful, wouldn't you say? And I mentioned the sharp 4 and the flat 5 are actually the same note, just different letters and harmonically depending on the context. So a flat 5 is also extremely useful in like a bluesy context. So remember, really dissonant on its own, but in context. More like a passing tone. So check out the sharp 4 and or flat 5. It is probably my most used note. Moving on, a flat 7. Much like a flat 5, it's a bluesier note that I associate it as. So we have an E and a D. So ringing those together, I try and my ear kind of pulls me toward the octave. So if it sounds almost like an octave, then there's a chance it's a flat 7. And the way I memorize this one is, can I hear that Hendrixy Stevie Ray Vaughan thing? Again, using the octave as sort of a crutch to identify that interval is key. Pun intended. Moving on to the last interval, I have a tip for you on the major 7th. And this is a strange one. Much like the minor 2nd, it's a half step from its root note. And the way I memorize this is another Star Wars thing. It's like maybe when a stormtroopers are coming for you or something like that, or Darth Vader. But so uses for the major 7 chords, major 7 arpeggios, and many other things. But the point of memorizing intervals, again, this is about discovering your voice on guitar and trying to find tools to facilitate the melodies that are in your head to come out on the fretboard. So I hope this was a helpful lesson. You'll notice I left out minor 6th. I just don't know how to memorize this one. Does anybody have a tip to memorize minor 6th? Leave it in the comments. I've just always kind of gotten to a point where if I can't figure out what the interval is, it must be a minor 6th. But let me know if you have a tip or a handy way to memorize minor 6th. I'd love to hear about it. I hope this was a helpful lesson for you guys. And again, if you want to learn how to use intervals in your guitar solo improvising chops, then check out Guitar Super System. There's 3 levels of it at this point, and more are in the works. So thanks a lot for your support, and until next time, keep shredding.